You've probably met someone like this. They don't talk much. They disappear from conversations. They overthink things that seem simple, and you quietly assume maybe they're just awkward or shy. But what if that's not what's happening at all? What if their brain is just working differently? Not louder, not faster, just deeper. Here is the thing. Highly intelligent people rarely look the way we expect them to. They're not always the loudest in the room, not always the quickest to answer, not always trying to prove anything, because their mind isn't trying to impress. It's trying to understand. And that is the part nobody talks about. Because when your brain processes the world deeply, it starts showing up in small, almost invisible ways, not as genius moments, but as quiet habits, the kind people often misunderstand. You might even misunderstand them in yourself. Because here's what actually happens. A highly intelligent mind often feels less like a superpower and more like a radar that never turns off, always scanning, always connecting, always asking, why? Even when you wish it would just stop. So let's look at this differently, not as signs of intelligence, but as patterns of a mind that's constantly trying to make sense of everything around it. First, a quiet comfort in being alone. You spend a lot of time alone, not because you hate people, but because your mind gets loud. Solitude gives your brain space to breathe, to think, to process, to connect ideas. And when you're constantly analyzing the world, silence doesn't feel empty. It feels necessary. Second, a curiosity that doesn't switch off. You don't just accept things, you question them. Why did they say that? Why does this work like this? Why do people behave this way? And it's not forced. It's automatic. Curiosity isn't something you try to have. It's something that doesn't leave you alone. Third, you talk to yourself more than you admit. You catch yourself thinking out loud, maybe quietly, maybe in full sentences, and it feels a little strange, but your brain is just organizing thoughts, trying to keep everything in place, trying to keep up with itself. Fourth, you're comfortable saying, "I don't know." And strangely, that makes you look less confident to others. But here's what's really happening. You understand how complex things actually are. The more you see, the more you realize how much you don't see. And that awareness looks like uncertainty from the outside, but it's actually clarity. Fifth, your mind overthinks even the smallest things. You replay conversations again and again and again. Why did I say that? What did they mean by that? Did that sound wrong? And it's exhausting, but your brain doesn't have a low power mode. It's always scanning, even when there's nothing to solve. Sixth, your sense of humor is a little different. You find things funny that others don't immediately get because your brain connects patterns, breaks expectations, links ideas most people don't even notice. So when your humor feels different, it's not wrong. It's just deeper. Seventh, you're willing to change your mind. When new information shows up, you adjust. Because to you, beliefs aren't identity. They're models. And models are meant to update. But from the outside, that can look like confusion or inconsistency. It's not. It's growth. Eighth, you observe more than you speak. In conversations, you're not always the first to respond because you're watching. Tone, body language, subtle shifts. You're collecting information, and by the time you speak, you've already understood more than you let on. Ninth, your mind comes alive at night. At night, your mind gets louder. Ideas connect faster. Questions feel deeper. And it's not always peaceful, but it's where your brain finally has space. And 10th, you're always searching for meaning. You don't just live experiences. You analyze them. What does this mean? Why does this matter? Why do people feel this way? And that question just stays quietly in the background of everything. Now pause for a second. How many of these felt familiar? Spending time alone feels antisocial. Asking questions feels annoying. changing your mind, feels weak. But what if none of that is true? What if these aren't flaws, but side effects of a mind that sees more than it can easily explain? And sometimes, that can feel isolating, because people don't see what's happening inside your head. They only see the surface. But here's the truth. Intelligence isn't always loud. It doesn't always look impressive. It doesn't always feel powerful. Sometimes, it feels like overthinking, like questioning everything, like never fully switching off. And that can be heavy. But it also means you notice more, you question deeper, you understand things most people don't even pause to think about. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And if you love understanding why people think, feel, and behave the way they do, then stay with us. Because here, we don't just watch people, we quietly decode what's going on inside their minds.